Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Toronto Argonauts played each other 3 times in a 4-week span near the end of the '87 CFL season. Winnipeg won the first game at Winnipeg Stadium. The following week, the Argos prevailed at Exhibition Stadium, and then 2 weeks later, Toronto went back to Winnipeg and won the Eastern Final. The rivalry is renewed today in Toronto, and the head coaches have some thoughts on meeting one another again.
I guess the way we look at it, it's a different year, different circumstances. We have some different people, and so do they. So, you know, we're just going to go out. We've been able to be a team that's improved as the year has gone on, and I hope that we can make another step of improvement in the next couple of weeks, too. I think that's very important for our team.
There's a good rivalry between these two teams. Even before Winnipeg joined the Eastern Division, we had good games with them, and they were always intense physical contests. And I think the way the games went last year, I think that just added fuel to the fire. And I know both teams respect each other immensely, and the better team's going to win.
For the first time in nearly a year, the Argos and Blue Bombers meet. It's a beautiful afternoon at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto as the Argonauts and Winnipeg Blue Bombers get set to meet for the first time this season. The Argos at 11-4 can clinch first place with a victory and also tie the club record for wins in a season. Bob Obilovich has done nothing but win in his years as head coach of the Argos. And, of course, the Blue Bombers want to keep their first place hopes alive, and they can nail down second, Neil, if they win today.
You know, Bob, most of the emphasis or talk has been about Winnipeg being able to get closer, an opportunity to get in first place if they win today. You know, it's just as important for Toronto. They want that bye, that home field advantage. That's important for them, too.
4 weeks ago, first place thoughts were just dreams for the Blue Bombers, but 4 wins in a row, and they have a chance. The kickoff by Alisic will bounce. Michael Allen at the Bomber 10. There's a flag down as Allen breaks through and gets up to the 30, driven out of bounds at the 32. Penalty flag was thrown around the Bomber 24-yard line as rookie Michael Allen brings the opening kickoff back.
The more we see the kickoff return teams, not only for Winnipeg,
illegal block. Winnipeg number 26, first downs.
But for other teams, they're being very specific in their returns, looking to return in one particular area on the cover team.
The illegal block against receiver Ken Winey, so Sean Salisbury and the Bomber offense will start from their own 10.
Mike Riley knows that he has to establish that running game. Winnipeg has been really relying on Salisbury and that arm.
And the man who'll do the running is Tim Jesse, and he has the ball on first down and is out to the 14 for a gain of 3 or 4. He was run down by Selwyn Drain.
Well, that Argonaut defense pursues as well as any in the league. They're a very mobile group, not only their front four, their linebackers and their secondary, and they're tough to run against, even especially to the outside because they're so aggressive in pursuit.
Second down and 6, the Blue Bombers at their 14-yard line. Salisbury back to pass, and he swings it out to fullback Vernon Paul, who makes the catch and is up to the 29-yard line. For a Blue Bomber first down, he was hit very hard by Doran Major. Well, as I said, it's a beautiful day in Toronto, 8 degrees Celsius, a light wind, the sun shining right now.
Perfect timing. The sun just broke through about 30 seconds before the kickoff.
Blue Bombers from their 29. Sean Salisbury leads them out. Murphy wide right. Jeff Smith, the former Argo, splits left. Perry Tuttle in motion left. And Salisbury wanted to throw quickly, then back to Perry Tuttle on a screen to the slot back Tuttle. He's up to the 40 and then goes down at the 45 after a gain of 16 yards. Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense, led by Sean Salisbury, his 5th game now. Jesse and Paul are his setbacks. The receivers, Murphy over 1,000 yards again this year, and the offensive line, the same group that has been there all season long. Salisbury sprints right on first down and throws, but it's low and behind slot back Perry Tuttle, the intended receiver.
I guess when you describe Salisbury and his mobility, you wouldn't describe him as a scrambling quarterback, but I've seen his ability to move laterally very well and get away from pursuit. Good straight arm a couple times last week. He had a defensive lineman on his shoulders, and good strong straight arm gets him off, and he's able to throw the football.
He doesn't have what you'd call speed, Neil, but he seems to have pretty good feet so that he can move out of the way and buy himself some time. Second down and 10, Bombers. Big pressure. Salisbury gets the ball away to Jesse. One-handed catch, and he fights up near the 49. It'll be a 4-yard gain, and the Blue Bombers will have to punt, but Salisbury did an outstanding job of saving a sack.
What a great effort. He saw Drain coming in from that side. No one to pick him up, and he just literally strong-armed it to the receiver. See, he's looking right at Drain. He's coming right down his throat. He tries to get away, but look at this. What a great show of strength. And Jesse one-hands it.
And he's shown the ability to keep looking downfield, even though the rush is on him in the 4 games he's played. Sean Salisbury. 3rd down and close to 6 for the Bombers up near their 50. Bob Cameron will punt. And he gets a good high kick away. Darrell Smith at the Argo 20. Flag down, likely no yards against the Blue Bombers. The ball pops loose, but Smith was down. Leon Hatzianu downfield to lead the Blue Bomber special teams, which have been very, very good, as have the Argos all season long.
When you talk to Mike Riley about the most consistent thing in his football team,
No yards. Winnipeg 24. 1st down.
he always talks about the work of his special teams right from the very beginning of the season.
The no yards penalty was against Ken Haley, as Gilbert Renfro brings the Toronto offense onto the field for the first time. And what a year Renfro is having. He started 14 of their 15 games. The one he didn't start was in Saskatchewan. Konjemi got the call, and Renfro came off the bench and led the Argos to victory. He has really poured it on, has Renfro, in the second half of the season. And he's done it through the air, and he looks for Dwight Edwards and finds him for a gain of 7 yards, we'll call it, for the Argos, up to their 37.
One of the situations or parts of Renfro's game that has come along that is really an addition is his running game. He is, according to Bob Wavilovich, has taken off a lot more than he has earlier on in the season. That just adds another dimension.
Coming off a knee injury last year, Renfro didn't have the confidence in that knee for the first half of the year, but he's developed it as he hands off to Lorenzo Graham, and he breaks tackles out across the 50 up to the Argo 51-yard line. Rookie Lorenzo Graham. And he's in the backfield with Hudson and quarterback Gilbert Renfro. The receivers and the strength to the left side with Smith and Boyd. Noble back after a long absence due to injury. And the offensive line, Kardash starting in place of injured Dan Ferroni at left guard. Argos have had a steady string of injuries on their offensive line, but they have good backup strength there. On 1st down, Renfro to throw, and it's nearly intercepted by linebacker Greg Battle of the Blue Bombers, intended for ex-Bomber Jeff Boyd.
Great work by the Winnipeg defense, especially Battle, going back into his zone and watching Renfro as in his drop and where he should start to move to. And he gets a good jump on the throw. It gets in front of Boyd. Boyd's pretty well covered to begin with, but Battle stretches that zone that he drops to just wide enough to knock the ball down.
Greg Battle will come out of the game periodically, be replaced by Paul Clatney when the Bombers put in Ken Haley as a 5th American defensive back. 2nd and 10 Argos at their 52, and there's a penalty flag, and that will be a time count violation against Gilbert Renfro. Renfro obviously, Neil, checking off at the line of scrimmage and unable to get the play called in time.
Well, one of the most important things if you come into a game with a ready list that you can check to, depending on what the defense gives you, is to get in and out of the huddle quickly so you have time to get to the line of scrimmage, find out what's going on and make the call.
From the 47 of the Argos, 2nd and 15, Renfro goes long down the sideline over the head of the intended receiver at the 35, Lorenzo Graham, coming out of the backfield.
Well, I don't think Winnipeg can forget about the Toronto Argonaut running game because Fennerty is not in there. Graham, a good strong runner, has shown earlier on in the season, he's just coming off a knee injury, that he might not be the same type of runner, not as good as Fennerty, but don't forget about him because he can hurt you.
3rd and 15 Argos from their 47. Hank Alisic, who leads the CFL in punting average. Winnipeg's Bob Cameron, 2nd, will kick. And it's a low punt that lands at the Bomber 30 and goes back toward the Toronto end of the field. Petway at the 36, flags down, probably no yards against the Argos. 9:52 remaining in this first quarter at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto.
The Argo bounce, he's got some great moves too.
While the Bombers got the Argo bounce on the last play before we came back, a punt by Alisic, which headed upfield. The Argos were called for no yards as a result. And Salisbury on first down hits Perry Tuttle for a gain into the Toronto 49-yard line. A first down for the Blue Bombers. Scoreless first quarter.
Glenn Kulka comes around on a stud. You see a good job by the Argonauts tying up the left side of the offensive line of Winnipeg, allowing Kulka to come from his defensive end spot all the way around and over the nose. And Salisbury just got the ball off.
2 catches for Tuttle today, who has not been as involved in the Winnipeg offense this year as he would have liked and the Bombers would have liked. Here's Tim Jesse on first down, gaining 4 yards to the 45 of the Argos. There is a flag. You talk about players who have helped turn the Bomber season around. Tim Jesse is certainly one of them, a rookie from Auburn. Procedure against the Blue Bombers is the call.
Interesting that Mike Riley's father, Bud, when he was in Winnipeg, had a connection in Auburn, Wayne Hall. And Calgary from that point acquired some guys like Hallman, who is now in Toronto, and Quincy Williams. That's how they found out about Jesse, through Bud Riley.
The procedure penalty against Rhoda Huskers of the Bombers was declined by the Argos. Second down and 6. Salisbury throws. Tuttle was open, but Salisbury overthrew him down around the Argo 30-yard line. It seemed like Sean Salisbury just kind of lost his grip on that ball. He was...
Well, he's going to come right at you. You're going to see balls in the right hand as he starts to throw it. See it come off the end of his fingers, not the type of follow through we're used to seeing from him. And now he's looking at it. He says, I need some more stickum.
The ball sailed on him. He still can't figure it out. The end result is that Bob Cameron, with a 44.2-yard average on the season, will have to punt for the first time in the game. Make that the second time in the game, and he gets a very good kick away that is dropped by Noble and goes out of bounds deep in Toronto territory. Foster's Lager in the Canadian Football Network, bringing you the best of the CFL. 8 minutes 24 seconds left in a scoreless first quarter at Exhibition Stadium. Winnipeg and Toronto playing for the first time this season. Both have won 4 in a row on an outstanding 42-yard punt by Bob Cameron as the Argos pinned on their 3-yard line. Lorenzo Graham carrying, breaks some tackles and gets out near the 9.
Lorenzo Graham carrying.
Well, the Blue Bomber defense has been solid all year long. Fears, another one of the players who joined them late in the year. Gray has had a very strong season. The linebacking core with Wicklum, the rookie. And what a surprise he's been for Winnipeg. And their secondary. Daryl Sampson at halfback will be replaced periodically by Ken Haley. Second down, Argos close to 5 from their 8-yard line. Graham carries again and finds some room off the right side. He'll be close to a first down. I think about a yard short as James West came across to knock him down.
Timely collision by West, too. Looked like Graham was going to have the first down if West doesn't come across.
Short yardage, be ready.
You see Bob Obilovich alerting the short yardage team.
And they will measure. Well, the Argos are much closer than a yard. They're within 8 or 9 inches of a first down, it appears, on their own 13-yard line. Bob Obilovich will send out his short yardage team and go for it.
Blaine Schmidt, Tony Visco, just a couple of the heavier weights to come in to play that tight end spot, so the offensive line is a little bit more bulky and will hopefully have a little bit more surge.
We've said many times, Neil, this is almost an automatic play when you're third and inches. It's seldom, if ever, stopped, but it's always a little more interesting when a team is on its 13-yard line.
Not only interesting, but an interesting call. Bob Obilovich obviously has a great deal of confidence in that offensive team.
So the Argos will gamble, if you want to call third and less than a foot a gamble, at their own 13-yard line. Renfro keeps. And following center Ian Beckstead, looks like he made the first down.
John Congemi, the second quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts, has a number of duties along those sidelines, charting plays, but he also sends in calls from the coaching staff in a single signal system that I couldn't figure out if he gave me a week.
Congemi has played very little this season. He did get some opportunities in the first half when Gilbert Renfro had his problems, but Renfro has played so well lately that Congemi will have to stand and watch. One of the Blue Bombers injured on that short yardage effort by the Argonauts, which got them the first down. Rob Prodanovic is the Bomber who's shaken up. 6:52 the time left in the first quarter. And we talked about how well these two teams have been going, Neil. They both won their last 4 games. The Bombers have scored 129 points and given up 66. The Argos have scored 181 and given up 54 in their last 4 games. So I guess you look for some scoring today based on those numbers, but you look at the defensive side too, and we see why it's scoreless in this first quarter.
A lot of those scoring plays on both teams come from big plays. You think of Murphy's performance last week at a wide receiver spot, just unbelievable.
You know, and the Argos are really beat up too. They have so many key players out. Gil Fenerty gone for the season. An outside chance he could be ready by playoff time. Gerald Bayless is a week away. Carl Brazeley, cornerback, is a week away. Dan Ferroni, all-star guard, is out. Pernell Moore, the rookie receiver kick returner, who is really coming on as a receiver, is out.
You know, the injury to Fenerty, though untimely, and you never like to see a player of that caliber off the football field, I think will make this Argonaut team a better football team. Because of his absence, it means they're going to have to, they had to sharpen up their passing game, and I think we've seen signs of that. Now you can imagine how much better they'll be if, in fact, they can get him back for the playoffs.
That's interesting. The Argos actually feel that without Fenerty, and they feel they need to give him the ball, get the ball to him so much, their attack has become better balanced. That's not to suggest they're better off without Gil Fenerty.
Oh, no.
Because that would be ludicrous. But it has made them do things maybe a little bit differently, and those things have worked. Here's Darrell Smith on a reverse handoff to the slot back, and he'll gain 3 yards out near the Argos 17-yard line. I was talking about injuries. The Bombers without Tony Johns, an ex-Argo, Stan Mikowas, their nose tackle, and offensive lineman Bob Molly.
You just saw Kangemi on the right there signaling in the play.
You couldn't read the signal. No?
Not unless it's a printed sign. I won't have a chance.
We'll work on that. 2nd and 7. It's the hitch screen to Jeff Boyd. A play that he made work in Winnipeg many times over the years, and he makes it work now for an Argo first down out to the 26-yard line.
You know, if that ball's thrown a little bit higher and Boyd doesn't have to hesitate that 1 second, that could be a very big play, because the receivers that came out to split block for him and open up that hole, watch. He has to go down, and look at the seam here, right there. He could have just that half a second more to get upfield. Could have been an even bigger play.
Boyd closing in on another 1,000-yard season, had 977 yards coming into this game. Gives the Argos a first down at their 26. Renfro gets the ball off to Hudson, with 2 Bombers giving chase, but Hudson is stopped by Aaron Brown at the 25. It'll be no gain as Hudson hauls in the pass from Renfro.
Winnipeg giving Renfro pressure from the backside. Renfro using the 13th man on the field for him. The referee is a bit of a blocker there, able to get the ball off, but Winnipeg played it awfully well, blitzing from the backside and covering the screen to the front side.
Argos lost close to a yard. We'll call it 2nd and 11 from their 25-yard line. No score. Less than 5 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Renfro throws complete up at the 33-yard line is the spot Dwight Edwards will be given. That will be a full 2 yards short of an Argo first down. .34-year-old Dwight Edwards in his 11th CFL season. Started his career with Toronto, been with Saskatchewan, Ottawa, Calgary, Montreal. Now back in Toronto. Hank Olisic is in his 12th year. His 6th with the Argos, the first 6 with Edmonton, and he will kick on 3rd and 2. The ball at the Argo 33. Big pressure. It's blocked by Rod Hill. The ball is in the end zone. The Bombers will have a touchdown if they can pick it up. And finally they do. Darrell Sampson got it after Rod Hill and Benny Thompson fought for it.
I expected to see Michael Allen there, because he's been around that ball in the end zone when the kicks have been blocked throughout this season. It was a scramble. The man's going to come free from the left side. Pressure's picked up Benny Thompson first off. Ben Zambiasi has to step up inside to take a man, which opens up the outside.
Now look at this battle for the ball. No Argos involved. And finally, Sampson arrives to fall on it, and the Bombers go in front 6-0. Rod Hill, you talk about Allen scoring touchdowns on block kicks. Rod Hill has blocked most of them. The Bombers lead 7-0 with 4:04 left in the opening quarter. Rod Hill, a 29-year-old CFL rookie, has just blocked a punt and given the Bombers a score.
Ballistic's known at getting the ball off very quickly with just 2 steps. That shows you how quickly Hill could get in there.
7-0 Blue Bombers as Edwards has Kennard's kickoff, and he's hit down by Benny Thompson. And for the second play in a row, we see the excellence of the Blue Bombers special teams.
Benny Thompson been the leader in that special teams all year, and that force that he carries with him, the hitting ability he carries over onto defense. Nice and clean. Rod Hill actually places himself, as you notice, doesn't go to the punter, but goes to the block area where the ball's going to come off the foot, and then the scramble goes.
It almost looked like Thompson pushed Hill out of the way.
Come on, you got these.
Renfro has Darrell Smith in the slot, and he catches it at the 45-yard line. Smith found a seam downfield. He was hit hard by Thompson, but held onto the ball. And the Argos bring the fans at Exhibition Stadium to their feet.
That's the area Bob Obilovich felt he could hit the deep seams. Winnipeg drops to a 3 deep, and when you do that, there is that seam sort of in the middle area, and if you can get the ball in there quickly enough, you've got a reception. And Benny Thompson has to pick a side one way or the other.
As usual, Thompson made the receiver, in this case Darrell Smith, pay for the catch. Renfro again looks for Smith, same place. And he caught the ball. It then came loose. Smith was really belted by Thompson and Ken Petway. And they're ruling a catch at the Bomber 29, but the ball came out after Smith was down. But Darrell Smith is down as he and Thompson, for the second straight play, have a heavy-duty collision.
On the Winnipeg 29.
Well, you better buckle it up when you're going to come into Benny Thompson's area, especially the second time. He's going to get burned. Watch the contact here. He's coming across from that safety spot. Smith has to hold up, but the hit comes from the backside. Petway really comes through after Smith's progress had been stopped by Benny Thompson. Thompson was the first one to wave at the Argo bench to get someone out there after he went down, too.
I thought initially it was the Thompson hit that had shaken Smith up, but as you said, Neil, it was Petway coming across, and Smith was driven into Petway. The helmet came flying off, and Darrell Smith, another Argo who has had a big second half of the season, really got his bell rung.
Having Smith in one slot back spot and James Noble back off that knee injury in the other slot, Mike Riley was saying that they're more threatening. You can't cheat to Darrell Smith's side anymore. You have to play them both even. Both have great speed, and that is what makes, he thinks, the Argos more explosive in this alignment. Well, yesterday there was quite a game that involved that man's alumni, Guelph and Western Ontario, that went down to the last minute of play. Final score, I believe, was 53 apiece. And you want to talk about a shootout. Western comes down with about 47 seconds left play. They scored. In the ensuing kickoff, Guelph takes it all the way down and executes a 2-point conversion. It was just some football game.
106 points and 1,269 yards in offense in that Guelph-Western game.
A defensive battle. It's good to see Darrell Smith back up on his feet. A little woozy. If he can squeak a smile out, he's got to be feeling better.
Well, Smith has had another 1,000-yard season, as you can see, even though he was concerned earlier in the year about not getting the ball enough. You wonder, of course, the Bombers have to feel, Neil, that a hit like that early in the game is going to make Darrell Smith not as effective as the game goes on, and I think that's where the challenge comes in for receivers in particular, is to now come back and go downfield into that traffic area again, show them that nothing has changed.
Well, you talk about a running back who fumbles and the quarterback wants to get him the ball as soon as he gets back in the game to show him that, you know, don't worry about it. We'll see if Darrell Smith, and when he comes back in, will Renfro force the ball downfield to him and make him catch it in a tough situation.
Smith getting quite a round of applause as he leaves the field. His catch before he was hurt put the Argos at the Bomber 29-yard line. 1st and 10, 2.5 minutes left first quarter. 7-0 Winnipeg. Renfro with pressure gets away from Michael Gray and then goes down at the Blue Bomber 23-yard line. Mike Gray had his hands on Gilbert Renfro but couldn't stop him.
Mike Gray, the Winnipeg sack leader coming into this game with 10, does have a good shot to increase his numbers to 11. But watch this little dip move and then spin. Now he comes up running, and that's what we hadn't seen earlier on in the year from Gilbert Renfro.
Not a good gain by Renfro. It's 2nd down and 4. Argos at the Blue Bomber 23. Renfro with time has Hudson all alone inside the 20. Stopped at the 16-yard line by 4 or 5 Bombers is the number that were finally needed to bring Hudson down, but the Argos have another 1st down.
When you see a teammate like that pulled up and the tackle being made and a lot of the defenders start flying in to want to stick shots into him while he's standing up, that's when the offense has to rally around and start knocking some people down. Got to help Hudson out, as you see Bob Jackson on the left there taking a closer look at Daryl Smith.
Argos are 1st and 10 at the Bomber 15. Renfro, lots of time, throws complete to Jeff Boyd, and he has the touchdown.
Calculated move by Jeff Boyd. Watch it. You can almost feel what he's going to do after he makes the catch from his body language. Comes back to the football, dips that right shoulder in case there is contact to the inside. He knows that Hill's to the outside. Spins in for 6.
The 10th touchdown of the year for Jeff Boyd, and I suspect a pleasing one against his old team. Lance Chomik adds the convert, and the game is tied at 7. 30-year-old Jeff Boyd, 5 very good years in Winnipeg and now a Toronto Argonaut, coming here with Ryan Hansen in the trade for Tony Johns and Jeff Smith just before the start of the season.
Interesting talking with James Jefferson, the all-star corner for the Bombers, said Boyd is a very physical receiver. When he comes off the football, if you get close to him, he's certainly not afraid to give a good jam out and get someone off him. Makes him tough to cover.
Boyd has a string of games going now. 5 games in a row he's scored a touchdown, and this is his 6th touchdown in the last 5 games. 5-play 90-yard drive for the Argonauts, and the 2 big plays were the long throws up the seam to slot back Daryl Smith.
And both those plays are the same play executed to the same side.
Bombers score on a special teams play, a block kick. The Argo offense, which has really been rolling lately, then comes back with a 90-yard touchdown drive. Michael Allen with the kickoff, and he runs right into cornerback Ed Berry at the Blue Bomber 24-yard line.
Even when the job's done, the touchdown, there's still conversation on the sidelines of how things can be adjusted. A semi-roll to the left. Good job of blocking by Hudson up front on Battle. Many people compare the way he stands in there and throws the ball, very similar to what Warren Moon used to be like when he was in Edmonton, and I'd have to agree with him.
22nd touchdown pass of the year for Renfro. That's topped in the CFL as Perry Tuttle has another throw from Sean Salisbury, and is down at the 31-yard line of the Bombers by Ed Berry after a gain of 6, maybe 7 yards.
Tuttle coming off the line slowly. So we see Daryl Smith being taken into the Argonaut dressing room. The injury, they feel serious enough to not let him back on the field till they get a closer look at him at halftime.
Sean Salisbury in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 2nd down and almost 4 from their 31. Salisbury to Tuttle, but he can't make the catch up at the 35. It went off his shoulder pads. Ed Berry right there to put a hit on him.
Ed Berry's made some impacts since starting in the corner a few weeks ago. 2 interceptions. He's returned 1 for a touchdown, and Bob Obilovich feels he has all the qualities. Great quickness and speed, aggressive to play that corner. He certainly has showed he can.
9-year veteran Bob Cameron will punt for the Blue Bombers. This will be the final play of the first quarter, barring a penalty. High snap. Cameron brings it down and gets the kick off. He's kicking into a slight breeze, and the wind holds the ball up. Mazzotti with the return back to the 51 of Winnipeg, and also draws a no yards penalty. So the Argos will have very good field position after having just scored. And the penalty is not no yards, apparently.
There's no infraction on the play. Bounce back rule. First down.
It was no yards, but they wiped it out, and the first quarter is over. With the Argos Blue Bombers in a 7-all tie. They haven't settled anything yet, the two leaders in the East. Darrell Smith really hit hard in the first quarter by Benny Thompson. And Kent Petway of the Blue Bombers had to go to the dressing room, but looks like he's going to return to the game. Bombers from their 35 after a Toronto single. James Murphy on the long throw from Salisbury, and he couldn't make the catch at the Argo 25, and the ball looked like it was there.
The ball was there, and so was Ed Barry in coverage, and I think that's what Bob Obilovich was talking about yesterday when he says, it scares me when a quarterback will go to a receiver even when he's covered like this, because he believes he can get open. Ball's just about on the money. Good coverage by Barry. A close one for Murphy.
You know, one of the features of Salisbury's play, Neil, in the 4 games he has played is his accuracy throwing downfield, and he showed it again there. And this time, he threw into coverage. Willie Pless on Perry Tuttle, and it goes incomplete as Gil Finnerty looks on from the Toronto bench.
Been hopping around in practice, still has that cast on, and it's just a matter of time. It's Mother Nature now that's the only person that can speed his recovery.
Shit when you don't play. No, I'm starting. Oh, you too.
Gil Finnerty was having a big year before he broke the fibula in his ankle. And he's still the leading rusher in the CFL, although Orville Lee has just about caught him. The Argos hold out an outside hope that he might play in the playoffs, but that's a slim hope. Cameron, third down punt. Mazzotti at the 35, and found a bit of a seam, gets out to the 43-yard line for Ken Haley. Brought him down.
Mazzotti's been playing inside receiver since he got to Toronto, but he's been moved to the outside spot. You may see him at that outside receiver. Maybe the recipient of one of this man's passes today, Gilbert Renfro. Argos, I'm sorry, I was just going to say.
Renfro in his last 5 games has thrown 10 touchdown passes and has been intercepted 4 times. Now, what were you going to say?
It doesn't matter. I can't remember. We couldn't have done that if we tried.
No, they're bad. He's got to make it.
Let's not try anymore, okay? Renfro, 1st and 10 from the Argo 43, and they'll go back and huddle up again. But Renfro, you talk about what the Argos have done as Bob Obilovich views the scene of action from his spot at the Argo bench. Last 5 games, Renfro has thrown for over 1,700 yards, 10 touchdowns, and he's added an 11th one today. And this one's going to be intercepted by James Jefferson. His 2nd interception of the year. And he's back to the Argo 23.5-yard line. 8-7 Argos. This game is brought to you by Foster's Lager on the Canadian Football Network.
That's for my wife back home. I'll be there tomorrow.
Jefferson picking off his 2nd. Renfro's going to the left. He's going to throw to an area. Winnipeg just dropping off, and Jefferson really comes off his coverage when he sees the ball thrown to an area where there's no receiver. Good reaction.
Salisbury will look in the end zone for James Murphy, and he drops the football. Well, you won't see a better executed play than that in every respect, other than the catch, which was somewhat vital to the thing working. And Murphy wasn't able to make it.
The defenders didn't collapse to Murphy until the ball was well thrown over their head. He's trying to, Coach Riley's going to check out looking up into the sun. Could it be the sun?
Murphy will go wide right again. Second down and 10. Bombers at the Argo 23. Salisbury has pressure. Gets away from it. Puts it up in the end zone for Murphy again. This time he catches it, but he's out of the end zone.
Well, there's Salisbury.
Flag on the play, Neil. Sorry.
But Salisbury again showing us it straight back. But those feet, he can get those feet going either way, and that lateral mobility gets him out of trouble.
Holding. Winnipeg number 51. Decline.
Interesting how Murphy puts his hands up, not knowing Barry's behind him, saying, I'm open, throw me the ball. And Barry's saying, yeah, throw him the ball. He doesn't know I'm here.
David Black was called for holding on Don Baldwin. The Argos decline. It'll be third down and 10. Blue Bombers, and Trevor Kenner, as Mike Riley shakes his head in disappointment, will attempt a 30-yard field goal. Bob Cameron is the holder. Wicklum the snapper. Kennard has it up. It's certainly long enough, and it's through there. And the Bombers regain the lead. They now lead 10-8 with 9 minutes, 51 seconds left in the second quarter. Bob Obilovich in his 7th year as head coach of the Argos, looking for his 5th first-place finish, and he can get it today if the Argos can beat Winnipeg. Right now they're down by 2. We're inside 3 minutes left. And the Bombers will work out of the shotgun late in the first half. Salisbury on 2nd and 10. And he dumps it off to Fabi, who makes a good catch for a gain of maybe 4 yards, but is stopped in his tracks by Willie Pless. And Winnipeg will be put in a kicking situation. But a new look from the Bombers, the shotgun.
Trying to get away from that Argonaut rush a little bit quicker, setting Salisbury back there. Allows him to look at the defense, where the drops are coming from for fellows like Willie Pless. Just shows you the quickness of that linebacking core of the Argonauts. If you throw anything underneath, they can get up to you and stick you before you get to that first down marker.
3rd and 6 for the Bombers. The ball at their 49. Bob Cameron to punt. 2.5 minutes to go in the first half. And Cameron gets an excellent kick away, high and deep. Paul Mazzotti at the 10 of the Argos gets away from a couple of Bombers before Leon Hatziano brings him down at the 16-yard line. Hatziano in his 3rd stint with the Bombers this season. 35 is rookie linebacker Dan Wicklum.
Wicklum snaps the ball and punts and extra points. You see he takes a pretty good shot from Hallman and gets back down. He's also been great on special teams this year for the Bombers, moving into a starting spot a number of weeks ago. Has really come through.
Argos 1st and 10 of their 17. And it's a screen to Hudson. Aaron Brown misses him. Sampson misses him, and James West has to come over and stop him at the 23-yard line.
Pretty well set up by the Argonauts. Sort of a lazy release by Hudson. That's exactly what he wants. Mike Riley telling me before the game that says we have to, when we've got the football on offense, establish the run, but you know we're going to win by throwing it, not by running it.
And they're up by 2 points, 10-8, but their offense, Winnipeg's offense, hasn't done much. 6 first downs, 95 yards. Their points coming on a field goal and a block kick. Renfro away from initial pressure, gets the ball away and completes it up to the 33 for a first down. A play that looked like it had no chance of succeeding, and Renfro, with his renewed ability to run, is able to make it work.
His mobility gets him out of trouble. Now this is a tough throw for him to begin with because he's going to his left. Jeff Boyd downfield gives him a wave and then adjusts to his coverage and gives him a target right near the sidelines.
1.5 minutes to go, first half. Argos. Kevin Cummings carrying the football. He'll be out near the 40 of Toronto and have a gain of about 6 yards.
No, we've spoke about the offensive line of the Argonauts, how battered they have been. You see Chris Schultz on the left tackle there. Great job of getting to the inside of the defensive player and giving the running back a place to go. They just continually, even though they shuffle from position to position, filling in for one another, are doing a great job.
Cummings carrying on 2nd down and 4, and they'll mark him down at the 41 of the Argos, and they'll be 2 yards short of the first down. Bob Obilovich doesn't like the spot, as you should perhaps surmise.
And it's a do-I, don't-I situation. Depends how close they are. It's at least almost 2 yards. A little bit risky, so Hank Olisic will kick it away. And hasn't really caught one today like we know Hank Olisic can kick the ball.
Well, he's gotten pretty good yardage out of them, Neil, but of his 4 punts, 2 of them have bounced. Third down and just about 2 yards for the Argos from their 41. A minute left. First half, the clock is now inside a minute and running at 55 seconds as Olisic takes all the time he can. And he catches one this time. James Jefferson at the Bomber 20. And back to the 27-yard line. The Bombers will have 42 seconds to try and move the ball into scoring territory.
A great kick by Olisic, and what makes it even better is he kicks away from the returners. Jefferson was lined up in the far hash mark. Hank Olisic just turns his body a little bit and slants the ball away from him.
49-yard punt by Olisic, and there's a look at what Sean Salisbury has done in the first half. He threw for 426 yards against Hamilton last week. A different story this week. Argo defense has played well. Salisbury trying to dump it off to Jesse, it looked like, but he hit a player along the line of scrimmage with a football.
Baldwin playing that defensive end spot. It's pretty mobile. He's in and out of a three-point stance and moves around. Sometimes almost looks like a linebacker, but that's the type of guy they want at that end position. Almost seems like he tries to sidearm it here. Just stick it into the running back.
This time he looks for Faby and finds a nice catch by Faby. He was well covered, but was able to catch the ball and move it up to the 48 of the Bombers. 30 seconds left in the first half, and Winnipeg will try to work their hurry-up offense.
First down to the 43.
Bombers with a 2-point lead. And Salisbury dumps it off to Tim Jesse. And Jesse can't get away. Nice tackle by Selwyn Drain, one-on-one in the open field against Tim Jesse.
Willie Pless and that defensive secondary are very good in a one-on-one situation when it comes to tackling, something that a lot of defensive players, according to the coaches, are getting away from.
2nd and 7 for the Bombers. Salisbury going long for James Murphy. And he's not able to catch it. Ed Berry had very good coverage. 13 seconds left in the first half. And the Bombers will send out their punting team after being unable to move it into scoring range.
Well, there was never a question that Ed Berry didn't have the speed. Bob Obilovich said when he first came to camp, they put him on Pernell Moore, who Obilovich feels is one of the quickest people in the CFL, and Berry was able to cover him in practice, and that leads him to that corner spot.
13 seconds until halftime, and the clock won't start until the ball is snapped after that incomplete pass. Cameron stands back on his 34 to get this punt away. And he gets an excellent kickoff. Mazzotti at the 15, and he's dropped in his tracks by Benny Thompson. 48-yard punt by Bob Cameron. 4 seconds left until halftime.
Benny Thompson continues to be an impact player, be it special teams or defense.
First down, Argonauts on all 15.
He almost gets pushed into Mazzotti.
And the reason he's able to make that play is because the kick was up there for 5.5 seconds. I don't know how long, but Cameron got great hang time. The Argos are not going to try and air one out on the final play. Well, this won't be the final play. 2 seconds now as Renfro takes the snap from center. So they'll have to do it one more time to end the first half, which has been dominated by the defensive teams and the special teams of Winnipeg with a blocked punt for their only touchdown.
I would think at halftime, both offenses and quarterbacks will get together with the spotters up top and try to examine what they haven't been able to take advantage of here in the first half.
First half complete. The Toronto Argonauts needing a win to clinch first place in the East. Trail the Blue Bombers by 2 points. So a low-scoring game in the first half. Will it change in the second? Trevor Kennard is set to kick off for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and we're underway. Dwight Edwards on the run catches the short kickoff around the Argo 30 and is back out to the 45-yard line.
Well, Dan Wickham is working probably a little bit harder than he would normally with some family in town. Always has a tendency to spur you on. You don't want to make any mistakes. Once again, on special teams, he goes down and starts the second half off with a bang. He's got to be a tired guy working all the special teams and starting at the outside linebacker spot.
Plus, they've been pounding him on those third down snaps, the Argos have. Hudson carrying on first down from the Toronto 45 is out to the 50 for a gain of 5. Warren Hudson only carried 29 times on the season, starting today's game. Gilbert Renfro. You see his numbers compared to Sean Salisbury's of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They have both put the ball in the air and have met with moderate success. Renfro finds Darrell Smith at center field. Darrell Smith badly shaken up in the first quarter. Back in the game. It looks like he's hurt again as he picked up a first down with a 5-yard catch.
Well, I think the Argonauts are more effective, obviously, with him in the game and James Noble on the other side. It gives that Bomber secondary, especially if they go with the 3 deep people, threatens them a lot quicker.
Smith suffered a head injury in the first quarter. Looks like he hurt his leg or maybe his hip that time, but he's staying in there. Splits out to the right, and the toss goes to Lorenzo Graham trying the left side. And he was run down by Willie Fears, the nose tackle of the Blue Bombers.
Fears gets a chance to run him down. Battle came across the line very quickly and slowed the play down, and allowed Fears from that nose spot to come over and get in on the tackle.
Thank you.
Fears actually playing defensive end on that play with Hatziano at the nose. Rob Prodanovic injured in the first half with a torn bicep. And we'll get more information on Rob Prodanovic for you, we hope. Second down. Argos, 10 yards to go on the pass intended for Jeff Boyd or Darrell Smith. Difficult to tell, but well over the reach of both of them.
It was interesting talking with Bob Obilovich yesterday, and he was asked, obviously, with the last couple of games against Ottawa, did he feel his team wouldn't be as intensive? And his thought was, it's not important who you're playing, it's what we are doing and how we are executing what's important. And then if no matter who you're going to play, you're going to do well.
Well, they outscored Ottawa 102-10 in their last 2 games, and you wonder if maybe a team loses its edge with games like that, but Obilovich didn't think so. Ken Petway on the run catches the punt by Alisic. Foster's Lager in the Canadian Network, bringing you the best of the CFL. 7.5 minutes left, third quarter. Bombers lead by 2. The man who returned that last Cameron punt was Paul Mazzotti, of course, of the Argos, not Jason Mazzotti. Not sure where that came from. Hopefully it won't come back. Renfro in the pocket. Looking for Boyd. Nice catch. 35 of the Blue Bombers with James Jefferson right there.
I might take that from a nice catch to a great catch. See the Renfro receiving the signals. Let's go back to the last play right here. The ball's going to be thrown just over. Nice touch right here by Boyd to bring that ball in. As you said, Jefferson was all over him. Great hands.
Argos in scoring territory again. They were here just a couple of minutes ago and fumbled the ball. This is Cummings carrying on first down into the arms of Aaron Brown. Kevin Cummings will gain maybe 4 down near the Bomber 31-yard line.
Randy Ambrosi started at right guard. He's having a hard time getting up.
Ambrosi has been bothered by injury this year, as has every member of the Toronto offensive line. Ferroni is out today. Skemp, one of their backups, is not in uniform. He's hurt, and they've all been injured at one time or another. And yet Bob Obilovich's team has seemed to be able to play through it.
Left side of the screen, Ambrosi coming down hard on the nose. Now he'll scrape to the linebacker, which is West. You see the leg whip from behind, not necessarily the contact from West, but what went on behind him, getting hit in the back of the knees. You know, Bob Abilovich points out very quickly that one of the things of this football team that has kept them together has been their character. Throughout the injury, throughout the turmoil with players leaving, being traded, I mean, it's all came at once. He believes that the character of this football team is what's going to get them to the Grey Cup again. And whether they'll be there or not, there's one thing for sure, we'll be there.
The Grey Cup game in Ottawa this year, and our next game on CFN will be next Sunday. A week from today, Saskatchewan Roughriders at Calgary. No local blackout. Stampeders and the Roughriders at 4 Eastern Time next Sunday on CFN. Talk about the Roughriders. The Toronto Argonauts picked up an offensive lineman from the Riders, Rocco Romano, a few weeks ago. At least Romano was with Saskatchewan earlier, suffered a major injury to his knee in their preseason, and the Argos brought him in here a few weeks ago and are glad they did, the way their offensive linemen have been dropping like flies.
Romano really is the only backup offensive lineman. They have Blaine Schmidt, who kind of goes on either side of the football depending on where he's needed.
Argos are second down from the Blue Bomber 30-yard line. 6 yards to go. Renfro, lots of time, throws. Aaron Brown intercepts at the Bomber 5. And he's back up to the 19-yard line. Middle linebacker Aaron Brown with his 3rd interception of the season.
I'll tell you, it's unusual to see a linebacker that drops that deep in pass coverage. Usually the linebacker from the line of scrimmage may go 10 yards max, but in this situation, Aaron Brown, who's just on the left of your screen, backpedaling out as Wicklund comes on the blitz, is real deep.
And that's twice in a row the Bombers have turned the Argos back deep in Winnipeg territory, both times on turnovers, a fumble, and now an interception. Tim Jesse carries on first down for the Bombers and may have picked up a yard, maybe 2 across the 20.
Outstanding play by that man, Aaron Brown. They knew he was ready to play this week because in a couple of situations in practice, he put the hammer down in practice on a couple of players, one being Willie Cannon. And usually you don't do that in practice. Usually it's sort of semi-live in practice, but Aaron Brown was getting jacked up early.
Both these teams had lively practice sessions. The Argos had a couple of scraps in their practices. Salisbury throws, and Perry Tuttle on his knees reaches back and makes an excellent catch to give the Bombers a first down up at the 33-yard line. Aaron Brown, 32 years of age now, back with the Bombers after leaving the team following the Grey Cup win in '84. He's from Ohio State.
He's really come a long way. After he joined the Bombers, he had a flourish there for a couple of games and sort of backed off. And I think it's a matter of just getting back into playing shape, and he has done that.
Salisbury not able to find anybody, and then sacked by Baldwin again, and also a penalty flag, which should be for holding against the Blue Bombers.
Unnecessary roughness on the quarterback after the play. 36-1. First down.
Don Baldwin's questioning the call. It was called on Don Moen. Here's Jesse taking the fake. Now he'll look to the backside to try to protect the quarterback's back, which is usually the most vulnerable. He doesn't end up blocking anybody. Again, the fake. Jesse goes backside. Now watch for Don Moen, number 36. See what the call is. Right in there.
It looked to me like Baldwin was held on the play, but the officials picked out Don Moen for a late hit, which the Blue Bombers will gladly accept and have a first down at their 41-yard line. Salisbury trying to set up a screen and finally settles for throwing the ball away as the Argos once again came through on the Bomber quarterback.
Well, you're right. They were trying to set up the screen, and Salisbury, very heads up, throws the ball out of bounds. Jesse never got a chance to release. See Chris Walby wiggling that neck and that left shoulder.
A low-scoring game. The Bombers leading 10-8. A hard-hitting game. 4 minutes, 15 seconds left. Third quarter. Bombers in the shotgun from their 41-yard line. James Murphy wide open to the Argo 46.
Very simple case of Argonauts coming hard, bringing more people than they usually do. One-on-one situation in coverage downfield, and James Murphy makes that nice little move to the post, then slows up, trying to get the defensive back to commit himself.
'29-year-old James Murphy having another excellent season. And a good day here at Exhibition Stadium, putting the Blue Bombers on the Argo 46-yard line. Jesse carries, fumbles again. Don Moen has it.
As being any better than this. Jesse takes the underneath handoff, tries to hit up. Now he's going to bounce it out. The ball simply went out. But watch Glenn Kulka. Moen's got it. Kulka makes the block on Randy Faby. If he doesn't, Faby might have caught Moen. But no one's going to catch Don Moen now.
And Kulka was the man who knocked the ball loose. Tim Jesse's had a tough day hanging on to the football. And the Argos go in front 15-10. 3:12 left, third quarter. This CFN game is brought to you by Foster's Lager.
Julian Chelsea, that's for you. I love you. They tried that one too many times.
Don Moen with a 61-yard touchdown run on a Tim Jesse fumble. Glenn Kulka, 68, the man who forced the fumble. And the Argos have gone in front of Winnipeg 15-10, 3:12 left in the third quarter at Exhibition Stadium. That was the first touchdown of Don Moen's career. Michael Allen has a Lysic's kickoff and some room down the left side. And Allen's to the 50-yard line of the Blue Bombers.
Rob Pradanovic on the sidelines, out of uniform, and earlier in the game he hurt that right arm, and the diagnosis is a strained bicep. Strained enough not to allow him to get back into the football game.
Earlier this year, Mike Walker and John Mandarich suffered torn biceps that sidelined them. Walker is still out. Unusual to see that injury occur 3 times, although Pradanovic hasn't yet been diagnosed as a torn bicep, but a bicep injury. Salisbury on first down, surrounded by Argo rushers, dumped the ball off looking for Faby, but just happy to get rid of it.
Salisbury is not getting the time to throw the football that is needed. He might start taking a deeper drop, not going back as far, and with the Darth Vader look, Glenn Kulka comes down, just gives him that, you know, that pressure.
2nd and 10, Blue Bombers at their 50. Salisbury looks for Tuttle, but he can't get there at center field. So Sean Salisbury, who improved his production in each of the previous 4 games he played, improved from one game to the next, has had a tough afternoon here at Exhibition Stadium against the Toronto Argonauts.
There you look at him coming off. It almost seems like he's seen some things in the secondary, some coverages that are catching him off guard and not giving him the reads he's used to seeing, thus making him hold the football a little longer than he wants to.
Third down, Bombers, 10 yards to go from their 50. Cameron. Good snap and a good punt by Bob Cameron. Paul Mazzani at the 16, and he's up to the 19. Nearly lost the football. 44-yard punt by Cameron. That is very late in the first quarter at Commonwealth Stadium. 42 seconds left. And the defenses are controlling that game, as they have been here at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. 2 of the 3 touchdowns have have been scored by defensive or special teams. The Bombers getting one on a block kick, and Don Mullen scoring for the Argos on a fumble recovery and a 61-yard run. This is Kevin Cummings around that right side, and he pops through for a good gain of 8 or 9 yards.
Cummings has seen work both as a running back and a slot back this year. Gets to the outside. Nice block by Hudson. Allows him to get back in that gap. The offensive linemen are obviously taking that corner and taking it away from the Bombers so he can get up in that lane.
Second down and a yard. Argos at their 29. And Warren Hudson carries for the first down across the 30 out to the 31. A minute 12 left, third quarter. Sean Salisbury's numbers aren't bad, really. Not as glossy as they have been in recent weeks. And the man with the jacket on is Lee Saltz, who is dressed for his second game as a Blue Bomber. Played one play against Hamilton last week. Probably see Tom Mickey back on the Bomber roster next weekend when these two teams play again at Winnipeg Stadium. Renfro for Jeff Boyd, intercepted by James West after Boyd couldn't hang on to the football. And West is to the Argo 26-yard line, and again Bob Obilovich can't believe what he is seeing.
But once again, we're seeing the linebackers deep. This time it's not a clear interception like Aaron Brown was able to pick off, but just about as good because it ends up being a Winnipeg possession. But boy, those linebackers, especially the middle ones of the Bombers, are getting such a deep drop. Boyd's just simply going down casually. He's going to go in, lazy pattern, trying to find the seam. Jefferson's in coverage from behind, but simply the ball hit Boyd and popped off. And Mr. Wild West got it.
West said, look what I found. James Murphy on the receiving end, and he gets away. Murphy down to the Argo 11-yard line. Salisbury finds Murphy for a gain of 16 yards. And after a bit of an opportunistic interception by West, the Bombers, down by 5, have a chance to regain the lead. Salisbury brings him out, has 3 receivers to the right, looks right, has pressure, throws for Jesse down at the 5, but threw it behind him. And that ends the third quarter. The Toronto Argonauts lead by 5.
The closer you get to the goal line of the opponent, the more pressure that goes on the quarterback, because it's really his responsibility more so now than any time to get it in the end zone. And right there, Salisbury had the opportunity to hit Tim Jesse and missed him.
That's 3 or 4 passes today that Salisbury has not thrown as well as obviously he would like with receivers open. This time he looks for Tuttle, who can't make a one-handed catch at the 1-yard line. That was a second down play. And the Blue Bombers will trot their field goal team out as Mike Riley shakes his head.
That angle that we saw the ball thrown at right there showed just how well he does throw the football. Lou Delorier was in coverage and had good position. The ball was thrown in the only spot, and it was thrown in the face of a blitzing Selwyn Drain from that halfback position.
Trevor Kennard in to attempt his second field goal of the game. He made the first one. This try will come from the 18-yard line of the Argos. Bob Cameron gets a good snap, puts it down, and Kennard puts it up and through. And it's now a 2-point game with the Argos leading Winnipeg by 15-12. That's the 30th field goal of the season for Trevor Kennard. Argos can clinch first place in the East if they can win this game. And it would be the 5th time in Bob Obilovich's 7 years as head coach for a first-place finish.
Well, it's strange that that clock is still ticking with the play having stopped a good 15 seconds ago.
Not only strange, it's wrong that it's still ticking. The Bombers have noticed it now, and they have attracted the attention of the officials to let them know.
They're getting by the skin of their teeth right now.
You may have heard Salisbury say they're getting by the skin of their teeth, which is a suggestion that he feels he sees some things the Bomber offense can do. Now it's a matter of executing them. We'll see. There were 5 turnovers in the third quarter. 3 by Toronto, 2 by the Blue Bombers, and the big one was the fumble by Jesse that Don Moen ran back 61 yards for an Argo touchdown.
Getting the scoreboard clock situation straightened out and straightened out quickly. We said Rod Hill pointed it out to the officials, and they will probably make the appropriate adjustment. Set back at 15, it'll be taken down to 14:30.
So Kennard's field goal came at the 32nd mark of the fourth quarter, and the clock for some reason wasn't shut off.
Now we can start.
Well, in a game like this, you don't want to lose 30 seconds because it could be very important at the end. 2 points the difference. The Argos ahead. And Dwight Edwards with a kickoff at his 17. Edwards hauled down by Rod Hill, but he got into Winnipeg territory, the Bomber 54-yard line.
I'll tell you, Edwards showed some explosiveness there, whether he's been in the league 2 or 10 years. The 34-year-old really showed some speed.
Holding, Toronto 79, first down.
Unfortunately, it will go for naught.
Blaine Schmidt called for holding on the return. So instead of being at the Bomber 54, the Argos will settle for being at their 30. 25-year-old Gilbert Renfro from Tennessee State, his 3rd year in the CFL, and having his best year, 3,400 passing yards coming into this game. And uncharacteristic of his play of late, that interception total of 3. Cummings carrying on first down. Aaron Brown brings him down, but Cummings will have 6, maybe 7 yards.
After those 2 successive plays in the second quarter, where Renfro found Darryl Smith up in the seam deep, we haven't seen the Argonauts go back to that.
2nd down and 4 for the Argos from their 36. Might be a good time to look for that, Neil. Renfro is looking for Jeff Boyd, and he has him at the 50 into the 49 of the Blue Bombers.
Jeff Boyd showing his ability to find the soft spot in the defense, be it man or zone, and then settle down to give quarterback Gilbert Renfro an opportunity to throw the ball. Watch, he's going to come down and veer back to the sidelines, but now slow down a little bit.
Boyd able to hang on to the ball. He had one bounce off his chest in the 3rd quarter into the arms of Bomber linebacker James West. Other than that, Boyd's having a good day. Short drop by Renfro, who throws to the outside for Jeff Boyd, but Boyd had come to the inside on the pattern.
Looked like quite simply both people read the wrong situation. Jeff Boyd feeling to bring it inside, and Renfro feeling that he should have stayed to the outside. Just a quick discussion about the topic, and they'll carry on.
Renfro's interception total of 3 is a season high for him. He also threw 3 in a game with Hamilton, but he hasn't reached that mark. Now he finds Jeff Boyd down at the Blue Bomber 27, but there's a flag on the play. First down for the Argos with a pickup of more than 20 yards. Renfro shaken up, and the penalty flag, according to the Bombers, is holding against the Argos.
Illegal procedure, Toronto 67, 2nd down.
The minute Renfro didn't move after the hit from the side by Wicklum, John Congemi immediately over to get that helmet on. Renfro really caught in a squeeze here. It's tough to know which impact is the one that hurt him the most.
Well, the penalty was for procedure against Chris Schultz, as Gilbert Renfro being looked at. It wasn't holding. It's only a 5-yard penalty, but Renfro hit from both sides, and John Congemi will warm up and will definitely come into the game for at least one play, as it's a second down situation that the Argos face. 12.5 minutes left, fourth quarter. Toronto leading 15-13. I think exactly the type of tight struggle we expected. Maybe not as high scoring as we thought it would be.
Now it almost seems like a time with Renfro looking around that he's okay, but they're giving Kangemi time to warm up that arm.
Wicklum and Battle, the outside linebackers for the Bombers, are the men who put the crunch on Gilbert Renfro.
Or the squeeze. Bob Obilovich said yesterday that last week was the first game that Fred Dunbar, who you're looking at there on the right, the athletic therapist, didn't come walking down the hall to his office with the bad news about a guy who's out for 6 weeks, a guy who's out for 3 weeks. Said maybe the injury bug is going to leave us alone for a while.
Some words exchanged that appeared between West and Renfro as Renfro leaves the field. Looks like he'll be all right as John Kangemi comes on to face a second down and 15 at the Blue Bomber 54. Kangemi was in last week against Ottawa and threw a total of 11 passes. And he will try to throw one here on second down, and will, and has a man open, but just overthrows Jeff Boyd. Boyd had a step on Jefferson and Thompson. Kangemi couldn't quite lay it in there.
All right, Jeff Boyd very smoothly, as he does many times, gets around the defender. Jefferson, one of the best, possesses great speed. It's not easy to get behind him.
Mike Riley looks like he's enjoying this battle here this afternoon, even though his team is down by 2 points. Elisic with a low end-over-end kick that will bounce high into the arms of Petway at the 13-yard line. And he got maybe to the 14. 11:45 to go, fourth quarter. This Oscars Lager telecast on the Canadian Football Network. Gilbert Renfro was shaken up a couple of plays ago, but it looks like he'll be able to come back in, Neil, as they do some repair work.
It's a good thing he had that flak jacket on. The hits the quarterback takes, especially from the backside, they're a necessary part of their equipment these days.
Bombers at their 14, first and 10 after an illicit punt. Salisbury to Perry Tuttle, and he's down at the 19. The ball comes loose, but the play had been whistled dead, so the Bombers will have a gain of 5. Rookie Bomber linebacker Dan Wicklum from Guelph University.
Major in marine biology.
And a first-round draft pick who has exceeded expectations by starting this year. Bombers second down and 5. Salisbury throws, intercepted. Zambiazzi to the Bombers 6.
Zambiazzi figured it's time. The other two middle linebackers in the game, West and Aaron Brown, have theirs. See how he looks inside, makes the read, and then comes across in front of Faby. Just for a second there, he saw the goal line. Immediately after he throws, you can see him take an angle to try to become part of the tackle.
Zambiazzi's first interception is an Argo. Toronto with a chance to take control here, and Darrell Smith has the touchdown.
Renfro comes back after taking a shot and throws a strike to Darrell Smith, who simply goes down the field and runs a flat in front of Petway just across the goal line.
We've seen both teams unable at times to capitalize on turnovers. Not that time. The Argos put it in right away. There are penalty flags as Chomik adds the convert. Darrell Smith has his 6th touchdown of the year.
Offside, Winnipeg 37, slide on the kickoff. Single point.
Benny Thompson called for offside. The convert is good. It'll be a flag on the kickoff.
See the scrape? He just goes off the back of Jeff Boyd and then goes to the flat. Again, across the goal line. Petway can't get to Smith in coverage because he'd have to go through Boyd. The old middle linebacker, who's played a big part of this Argonaut defense after the departure of Doug Landry to Calgary, is now, according to the coaches, back to the way he should be. Back into playing shape and playing well.
In his best game against Ottawa last week, according to Bob Obilovich. And Daryl Smith has made quite a recovery after being, it looked like, knocked cold in the first quarter on a hit by the Blue Bombers. Looking fresh and fit. And with a touchdown that gives the Argos a 22-13 lead. That scoring play at 4:17 of this fourth quarter. Essex kickoff to James Jefferson at the Winnipeg 13. And he's down at the Blue Bomber 35-yard line. You know, Salisbury, Neil, in the first 4 games he played, had 10 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. Incredible ratio. That time he threw into a crowder, just didn't see Zambiasi.
No, Zambiasi, though you can't hide out there, did a good job of disguising where he was dropping to and then stepping in front.
So the wily veteran outsmarts the youngster, 25-year-old Sean Salisbury from USC. Salisbury picked off again. Don Mullen with the ball.
The native of Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Don Mullen, is having himself quite a day. This time he's dropping back. He's to the left of the screen. He simply goes in front of Smith by 5 yards. And again, a frustrating situation for a quarterback to have to pursue an interception.
Well, Sean Salisbury, who had everything go his way in the first 4 games he played, not everything, but a lot of things, finds some trouble here in Toronto, and Daryl Smith with the football is into the Blue Bomber 11-yard line.
The new father's having himself quite a day as Lee Saltz begins to warm up his throwing arm.
Well, by the sounds of the crowd, you can tell how this game has turned in the Argos' favor. Zambiasi intercepting, then the Smith touchdown, and now the Mullen interception, and the Argos are at the Bomber 11 with a chance to really take charge of this game. Graham, touchdown.
It's one thing to get the turnovers by our defense. It's another to be able to stick the ball in the end zone. 2 plays in a row. The Argonauts have been able to execute well, and even with a shot after he's in, Lorenzo Graham celebrates.
5:46, the time of that score, coming 1 minute and 29 seconds after the Smith touchdown, and the Argos, with a Chomik convert, have taken a 29-13 lead over the Blue Bombers. And we have 9:14 left in the fourth quarter. Bob Obilovich, the head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, the man with the cap and the headset, had some difficult moments, many times looking perturbed, watched his team turn the ball over 3 times in the third quarter, but the Argos have broken it open. They now lead 29-13, 2 touchdowns just over a minute apart. And Michael Allen with the ball for the Bombers on the kickoff return. Reggie Pleasant, number 2 of the Argos, brings him down at the 40 of Winnipeg, and we will see Lee Saltz come in and play quarterback in relief of Sean Salisbury for Winnipeg.
Now, does that surprise you?
It does a little bit, I guess, although I know that Mike Riley wanted to see Saltz play, and now he has a chance although I suppose in a way it's almost a concession that the game is out of reach. On the other hand, maybe Riley's feeling, Neil, that it's time to give Salisbury a chance to kind of collect his thoughts.
Catch his breath, that could be why.
And Saltz will throw, and he's intercepted down at the 48-yard line by Selwyn Drain. There's a penalty flag. It's holding against the Bombers, so the interception will stand, and that's 3 interceptions for the Argos on the last 3 Winnipeg offensive plays.
The Argos getting ready to do a 3-man slam. Salt's trying to get the ball. This is a long throw. With the ball in the air that much, for that long, Selwyn Drain can get underneath Murphy and make a heck of an interception, laying out for it.
Selwyn Drain's 5th interception of the year, and here comes Lorenzo Graham. And he's down to the 48-yard line of the Blue Bombers, has a gain of close to 15.
This is a situation right now where you can almost taste it if you're the Toronto Argonauts. They've been given a couple of opportunities. They've turned them into touchdowns, and now it's just a matter of building on that.
And the momentum in the game, Neil, has just absolutely shifted behind the Argos. Big plays, turnovers on defense will do that for you, and the resulting scores add to it. The Argos will try to go in again. Graham carries on first down and picks up 6 or 7 close to the Bomber 40. 7 minutes, 50 seconds left. Argos 29, Winnipeg 13, a Toronto win, and they clinch first place in the East.
As we said earlier, most of the talk was about Winnipeg having the opportunity with 2 wins in a row against these Argos to get into a first place tie. Forgetting also that most people that the Argonauts want that bye. This is how they get it.
Hudson on second down. Nice move, and he breaks the tackle and gets down to the Bomber 27-yard line for another Toronto first down. And this is the story in the game. The Bombers getting a big play from their special teams and a touchdown, and then Don Moen with a big fumble return for a touchdown, and the 3 interceptions here in the 4th quarter. And the Argos capitalized on those first 2 interceptions with touchdowns, and they're looking to do likewise as Graham is tripped up by Battle, and will have a gain of about 2 to the Bomber 25.
Well, now it's up to the Winnipeg defense, and you know, if they can hold here, they look like an ornery bunch. I've been watching Battle and Benny Thompson, and a lot of talking after every play. If they can come up with a big play themselves.
Well, that's what the Bombers need now to stem the tide that the Argos have built. Second down and 8 for Renfro. And he's got lots of time as he runs out of the pocket. He'll take off with the ball and step out of bounds at the Blue Bombers' 17-yard line, right on the first down marker. So depending on where they spot it, he'll be either have a first down or be close enough that they can gamble on 3rd.
Good job of protecting, and then when he does have to go, he releases to the outside of Hudson. And then that offensive line, you see a good block right there by Kelvin Kreutzer, putting someone on their back. Renfro then just heads to the first down marker.
There was a penalty on the play, so the gain by Renfro will come back. And the Argos will be at the Bomber 35 with second down and 18 yards to go. 4:32 left in the first half. At Edmonton, the BC Lions ahead of the Eskimos by 10 points, 11-1. 5:50 left here at Exhibition Stadium. Argos ahead by 16. Renfro looks for Darrell Smith, knocked away by Petway, but a flag comes down as Petway appeared to grab Smith and hold him back.
Forward pass interference. Winnipeg number 8. First down.
Petway in coverage gets caught. too bad because Benny Thompson's going to be there in time. I think if Smith had caught the ball to jar it loose, see if we can see where the infraction comes. Once again, credit has to be given to that front five. Look at that. No one within 2.5 yards of Renfro when he throws the football.
From the 4, Lorenzo Graham on 1st and goal, and he gets close to the 1. The Bombers turn him back. Benny Thompson involved, along with Hatziano, Dan Wicklund.
Left, 47 flag. Come on, no. Come on, get it in now.
Lorenzo Graham has carried 12 times for 69 yards and a touchdown. The Argos, with their 29-point outburst today, have set a new club record for points in a season, 493 now. The old record was set last year, 484. That, of course, in an 18-game season. Graham is in for another touchdown.
The guys he's receiving congratulations from did the job. Ryan Hansen kicks out on the end man on the line of scrimmage, and then it doesn't take much to get Graham in the end zone. .10:03 the time of that score by Graham, his second touchdown in a row. The convert by Chonick, and the Argos now lead 36-13. A game that just over 6 minutes ago they led 15-13. It's an amazing thing how turnovers can hurt you. Not so much just a turnover like a fumble, but an interception. Watch this quick dip in out behind Ryan Hansen and in the end zone. It's one thing to fumble the ball and have it recovered, but it's simply another situation when the ball turned over in a pass, one return for a touchdown, the other one turned down at the 3 or 4 yard line. It makes it tough on your defense.
Well, the Argos took advantage of the turnovers. As you say, Neil, it's a little easier to do that when you get them on the 7-yard line, like Zambiasi's interception, for example. Lorenzo Graham's had a good day. And the Argos are 4 minutes and 57 seconds away from clinching first place in a bye into the Eastern Final. They'll up their record at 12-4 and tie the club record for victories in a season, which was set in 1983. And they won the Grey Cup that year. Michael Allen with a kickoff at his 15-yard line. And Allen fights across the 35 out near the 36 of the Blue Bombers.
Lee Schultz gets the second crack at that Argonaut defense. And Sean Salisbury sits down, takes a place beside Aaron Brown. You know, the one thing that has impressed me about this young fella is his ability to refocus and get back on track. And I don't think we're going to see the last of him just because of a couple of interceptions.
Lee Schultz going to take off and run with the ball, and he's a pretty good runner. Goes down at the 43 of the Bombers for a gain of 7 yards. Schultz was with the Detroit Lions in the NFL. He's from Temple University, 6 feet tall, about 195. Been with the Bombers for 6 weeks or thereabouts. Dressed for last week's game in Hamilton, played 1 play, and is going to get a few more than that here this afternoon in the last few minutes. From the shotgun on 2nd down, Schultz throws to James Murphy, who's open at the Argo 50, hauls it in. Delorier and Drain bring Murphy down.
It was interesting to hear when Mike Riley had looked at the depth chart yesterday of the Argonaut offense and seeing Noble in there at slot back, felt they would be a more explosive football team. I don't think he ever believed that that explosiveness would come from his defense, the Argonaut defense.
Blue Bombers at the Argo 49, 1st and 10 with 3.5 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Schultz gets away from some pressure and will try to turn the corner on Willie Pless. Not able to do it. That is down to the Toronto 42, 43-yard line for a gain of about 6.
Schultz underestimating the quickness of Willie Pless, trying to get to the sidelines and turn it up.
79 at the Bomber bench is Willie Fears. All of the Bombers sitting there undoubtedly wondering what hit them. Randy Feeby of the Blue Bombers has been shaken up. And that's why we have a stoppage in play. 3:09 left in the fourth quarter. The Argos lead by 23. 3 touchdowns in less than 6 minutes in the fourth quarter by the Toronto Argonauts have broken this game open. Argos leading 36-13. 2:48 to go. And Bob Cameron to punt. Bounces. Noble picks it up at the 7-yard line and steps out at the Argo 15. Lee Saltz, number 2 for the Blue Bombers, getting a chance to play. And Bob Obilovich will now give Gilbert Renfro the rest of the game off as John Conjemi comes in to quarterback the Argos.
A good move, because down the road you never know when you're going to need either one of your quarterbacks. In this case, Conjemi has been playing quarterback B instead of A, so give him an opportunity to throw the football and get the feel of running the offense in a game rather than just practice.
The toss to Cummings. Gets away from a couple of Bombers and then is up to about the 25. They'll say he went down at the 24, but a 9-yard gain for Kevin Cummings. 2:26 left in the fourth quarter.
Argos seem to be doing the same type of thing with Lorenzo Graham and Kevin Cummings. You know, Obilovich said yesterday that the one thing they don't want to do is rush Gil Finnerty. He's got such outstanding ability. He's an important factor to this football organization, but they can't take a chance of losing him for his career just because of one game.
Ryan Hansen carries. He's another one of the players involved in the Jeff Boyd trade. It's Gilbert Renfro. He's had another good game. His 6th consecutive over 200 yards passing. 8 of his last 9 he's gone over 200 passing. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Now it's his turn to send those crazy signals in from the sidelines.
I bet he called a run. 1:50 left. The clock is running, and Hansen carries again. Ryan Hansen is stopped for a short game at the 32 of Toronto. But they'll use up some more time and come closer to taking this win to the dressing room where they can celebrate a first-place finish. Their 5th in 7 years under Bob Obilovich. Pretty impressive record.
Very impressive, and he's done it under some adverse situations on occasion, depending on the time of year it has been and the injury situation in all his seasons.
Kevin Cummings carries on 2nd down, and he'll be close to an Argo first down across the 35.
I think it's a good shot at Delorier talking with Fred Dunbar, the athletic therapist. Delorier has been a big surprise for the Argonauts coming off that knee injury. A lot of people didn't know if he would be able to play a full season, especially on the AstroTurf, because it's so much harder on the legs. But he's done that and more for this football team at safety.
Well, it's quite a story. Delorier in that horrible knee injury. He had to come back and play the whole season. That's just remarkable. Hank Olisic will come in and punt. The Argos are 3rd down and half a yard to go.
All right. This game has been a testing ground for a couple of returnees from a knee injury. Both James Noble and Lorenzo Graham were out for a while with knee injuries, and it's a bit of a confidence builder for both of them today, I'd say.
Clock is running. It's down to 1:05 left as Hank Olisic gets the punt off. Petway drops it, picks it up, then fumbles it, and Jake Vaughn last to touch it out of bounds. Argo football at the Blue Bomber 47-yard line. And that play somewhat typical of the way the second half has gone for the Blue Bombers, with turnovers plaguing them. After the game, we will select Foster's most valuable player and talk to that individual. Toronto Argonauts have a number of candidates today. As they send their offense back out onto the field, and will be able now, it appears, to run off the remaining time in the clock. 54 seconds to go. As John Kajemi wants to throw, or does he? Yeah, he throws it out of bounds, and he'll stop the clock, as whatever he called, Neil, wasn't there. And although it stops the clock, and you don't want to do that when you're leading with time running out, it doesn't really matter. 46 seconds left.
Are you surprised that they didn't keep the ball on the ground and keep running it? No, I kind of feel for Kajemi. He gets in the football game, and it's pretty tiring just handing the ball off, but they can get anybody to do that. Let me throw it.
Well, when you're 23 points ahead, you're in no danger of losing the lead, so running the timeout quickly is less imperative, obviously. Kajemi, though, will run this time. The toss to Kevin Cummings into the Bomber 44-yard line for a gain of 3. 41 seconds left now.
Well, I think we've seen signs of what we thought might happen for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. See Kevin Cummings and BC extending their lead at halftime in Edmonton at Commonwealth Stadium, 14-1. And Matt Dunnigan returns to perfect health after that neck injury and the shot he took a couple of weeks ago, which was a scary situation for all.
James Parker has the only touchdown in that game on a fumble recovery, so that's been the story of the day. We had Don Moen running one in 61 yards in the third quarter. I think the play that really turned this game around. Hank Alisic's punt looked like it hit Jake Vaughn. The Bombers pick it up. James Jefferson at the 10. Flags go down, and Jefferson brought down at the 24 with 8 seconds left on the clock.
And you're right, it did bounce and hit Jake Vaughn, number 24. Another one of those crazy hops. You know, it almost seems like the artificial turf is wet in spots.
Well, this loss will drop the Bombers to 9-7. Hamilton at 8-8. The Bombers will now have to concern themselves with trying to finish in second place. Winnipeg and Toronto will meet again next Sunday in Winnipeg.
This game was a concern to the Tiger Cats, enough so that head coach Al Bruno made the trip down the highway. You saw him earlier on up in the press box here.
And Bruno will be pulling for the Argos in Winnipeg next week, which will be unusual. Lee Saltz rolling out under pressure, finds Jeff Smith at the 35. He's down at the 40, and that play ends it. The Toronto Argonauts, with a 3-touchdown explosion in the fourth quarter, clinch first place in the East and a bye into the Eastern Final, defeating the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 36-13. The Argos are now 12-4 on the year. That ties a club record for wins in a season, which they set back in 1983. The only other time in their history they won 12 games in a year, and they won the Grey Cup that year. The Bombers are now 9-7.